Prologue. The House of the Temple, 8:33 p.m. The secret is how to die. Ever since the beginning of time, the secret had always been how to die. The 34-year-old initiate gazed down at the human skull cradled in his palms. The skull was hollow, like a bowl filled with blood-dried wine. Drink it, he told himself. You have nothing to fear. As a tradition, he had begun this journey adorned in the ritualistic garb of a medieval heretic, being led to the gallows, his loose-fitting shirt gasping open to reveal his pale chest, his left pant leg rolled up to the knee, and his right sleeve rolled up to the elbow. Around his neck hung a heavy rope noose, a cable towel, as the brethren called it. Tonight, however, like the brethren bearing witness, he was dressed as a master. The assembly of brothers encircling him, all were adorned in their full regalia of lambskin aprons, sashes, and white gloves. Around their neck hung ceremonial jewels that glistened like ghostly eyes in the muted light. Many of these men held powerful stations in life, and yet the initiate knew their worldly ranks meant nothing within these walls. Here all men were equals, sworn brothers, sharing a mystical bond. As he surveyed the daunting assembly, the initiate wondered who on the outside would ever believe that this collection of men would assemble in one place, much less this place. The room looked like a holy sanctuary from the ancient world. In truth, however, was stranger still. I am just blocks away from the White House. This colossal edifice, located at 1733 16th Street, NW in Washington, D.C., was a replica of a pre-Christian temple, the temple of King Mausolus, the original mausoleum, a place to be taken after death. Outside the main entrance, two 16-ton sphinxes guarded the bronze doors. The interior was an ornate labyrinth of ritualistic chambers, halls, sealed vaults, libraries, and even a hollow wall that held the remains of two human bodies. The initiate had been told every room in this building held a secret, and yet he knew no room held deeper secrets than the gigantic chamber in which he was currently kneeling with a skull cradled in his palms. The temple room. This room was a perfect square and cavernous. The ceiling soared an astonishing 100 feet up overhead, supported by monolithic columns of green granite. A tiered gallery of dark Russian walnut seats with hand-tooled pigskin encircled the room. A 33-foot tall throne dominated the western hall, with a concealed pipe organ opposite it. The walls were a kaleidoscope of ancient symbols: Egyptian, Hebraic, astronomical, alchemical, and others yet unknown. Tonight the temple room was lit by a series of precisely arranged candles. The dim glow was aided only by a pale shift of moonlight that filtered down through the expensive oculus in the ceiling and illuminated the room's most startling figure, an enormous altar hewn from a solid block of polished Belgian black marble situated dead center in the square chamber. The secret is how to die, the initiate reminded himself. It is time, a voice whispered. The initiate let his gaze climb the distinguished white-robed figure standing before him, the supreme worship master. The man in his late 50s was an American icon, well-loved, robust, and incalculably wealthy. His once dark hair was turning silver, and his famous visage reflected a lifeline a lifetime of power and vigorous intellect. Take the oath, the worship master said, his voice soft like falling snow. Complete your journey. The initiate's journey, like all such journeys, had begun at the first degree. On that night, in a ritual similar to this one, the worship master had blindfolded him with a velvet hoodwink and pressed a ceremonial dagger into his bare chest, demanding, "Do you seriously declare on your honor, uninfluenced by mercenary or any other unworthy motive, that you freely and voluntarily offer yourself as a candidate for the mystics and privileges of this brotherhood?" "I do," the initiate had lied. "Then let this be a sting to your consciousness," the master had warned, "as well as instant death should you ever betray the secrets to be imparted to you." At the time, the initiate had felt no fear. "They will never know my true purpose here." Tonight, however, he sensed a foreboding solemnity in the temple room, and his mind began replaying all the dire warnings he had ever been given on his journey, threats of terrible consequences if he ever shared the ancient secrets he was about to learn. Cut throat from ear to ear, tongue torn out by its roots, bowels taken out and burned, scattered to the four winds of heaven, heart plucked out and given to the beasts of the field. "Brother," the grey-eyed master said, placing his left hand on the initiate's shoulder, "take the final oath." Steeling himself for the last step of his journey, the initiate shifted his muscular frame and turned his attention back to the skull cradled in his palms. The crimson wine looked almost black in the dim candlelight. The chamber had fallen deathly silent, and he could feel all of the witnesses watching him, waiting for him to take his final oath and join their elite ranks. "Tonight," he thought, "something is taking place within these walls that has never occurred in the history of this brotherhood, not once in centuries." He knew it would be the spark, and it would give him unfathomable power. Energized, he drew a breath and spoke aloud the same words that countless men had spoken before him in centuries all over the world. "May this wine I now drink become a deadly poison to me, should I ever knowingly or willingly violate my oath." His words echoed in the hollow space. Then all was quiet. Steadying his hands, the initiate raised the skull to his mouth and felt his lips touch the dry bone. He closed his eyes and tipped the skull towards his mouth, drinking the wine in a long, deep swallows. When the last drop was gone, he lowered the skull. For an instant, he thought he knew his lungs. For an instant, he thought he felt his lungs growing tight, and his heart began to pound wildly. "My God, they know!" Then, as quickly as it came, the feeling passed. A pleasant warmth began to steam through his body. The initiate exhaled, smiling upwardly as he gazed up at the unsuspecting grey-eyed man who had foolishly admitted him into the Brotherhood's most secret ranks. "Soon you'll lose everything you hold most dear."